Today's episode of Voiced is from r/pro revenge and is about homeowners confronting outdated HOA rules and a woman whose dog decided to break airport etiquette. What happens when frustration turns into revenge? Subscribe if you enjoy.
While we're on the subject of homeowners associations, here's the story of how my parents' HOA tried to use a 40-year-old rule to stop them from repairing hurricane damage and got the short end of the stick for their trouble. A few months back, as you all may remember, Florida got pretty beaten up by a couple of hurricanes. My folks live down there, and while none of the damage that they sustained was life-alteringly horrible or home-destroying, homeowners insurance kicked in and they had some water damage through the roof. They also needed a new one because of all of the shingles that had come off and debris that had punctured it. My folks looked through roofing options and determined that a metal roof would be a great option to reduce damage and maintenance on their home. Plus, it would serve as a more energy-efficient option with passive solar collection and fewer thermal losses in the summer and winter. It's more expensive, but my dad was basically personal finance incarnate while I was growing up. He's in his 60s and has finally concluded that he has the financial freedom to do what he wants, so the roof was a good investment. It looked like a win-win-win with that roof. Then they reviewed the Homeowners Association and saw that, as of 1989, metal roofs are prohibited in the neighborhood, subject to fines and mandatory removal. Reviewing the bylaw further showed that it was clearly referring to older, poorer quality tin roofs, not a proper metal one like today's market provides, which looks great and has all of those other benefits. And my folks wanted to play by the rules, though, and called up the Homeowners Association to explain the situation. The Homeowners Association was friendly and said that they would be looking into that bylaw and that my folks weren't the only ones who requested that they be allowed to have a metal roof. My parents couldn't get a roofing contractor in for a few months anyway. Too much demand since everyone else's roof got wrecked. So they waited a few weeks and got nothing new out of the HOA. They tried again a few weeks later. Nothing. After 2 months of this, they said to hell with it and started construction on the metal roof. Popular opinion in the neighborhood was on their side, and the roof was covered with a tarp that wouldn't last forever. The new roof got installed over the course of a few days, and then we found out just how awful the HOA was. The neighborhood has a nice brick sign out front that says "Welcome to Neighborhood Name." It's very classy, very nice, and was very damaged in a hurricane. The Homeowners Association was strapped for money due to other repairs and dues, and some person had the bright idea to impose as many fines as they could on the neighborhood to pay for these repairs, starting with my folks. They served my folks with a letter claiming that they were in violation of the Homeowners Association and demanded a $25,000 fine and that they remove it, which is, of course, absurd. My poor mother is very much a play-by-the-rules sort, and she was worried sick. Dad's ex-Navy and a contract negotiator. He essentially checked his 60-year-old knuckles and said, "Oh, you little ones want to play, do ya?" So they set about researching and making some calls. Poor Mom kept waking up at 1 a.m., unable to sleep, and I felt terrible for her as she went through this. But then they had a breakthrough. A few weeks after being served, I'm fuzzy on the timeline since I don't live in Florida, it may have been less, there was essentially a burn them at the stake meeting of the Homeowners Association, where my parents could defend themselves for an absurdly short amount of time, and the Homeowners Association could rip into them for daring to defy their wrath. So my mom, because she's more social and has a better temper than Dad, comes up to speak and lets the Homeowners Association know that they can't do this. The Homeowners Association smirks and says that they sure can. They have a 40-year-old statute saying that they can. Mom says, "You do, but I have state law on my side which supersedes your statute." Turns out there's a law in Florida stating that a Homeowners Association, or really any regulation, cannot be used to prevent an eco-friendly improvement from taking place on anyone's private property. And wouldn't you know it, the passive solar of the metal roof counts as an eco-friendly improvement. Turns out the roofing contractors have dealt with similar situations before. When Dad mentioned what was going on to them, the contracting officer pulled out a few letters of accreditation and a few past cases where the court had determined that their product was eco-friendly and forced the Homeowners Association to pay all legal fees. My mom produced all of this for the lousy Homeowners Association, who had to admit that this was in fact ironclad. Strapped for money as they were, they couldn't afford to pay a lawyer. The Homeowners Association head growls, "Is that all?" Mom turns up the sweetness to 11. "No, I see in the bylaws that we can vote to impeach board members at any HOA meeting and to elect their replacements. I move to impeach all of you. I nominate my husband," and she rattles off a list of names. HOA is stunned. While Dad looked into the legal, Mom looked into the new neighborhood. Popular opinion was on their side, and the hearing was public for the neighborhood. Mom convinced a majority of the homeowners to attend and remove the board for their poor policy. With that, my parents are now on the all-new board, and Dad is putting his contract negotiation skills and craftsmanship skills to work repairing the front entrance. And metal roofs are now allowed by the all-new HOA.
Wow, talk about a twist of fate. It's incredible how my parents not only turned the tables on their HOA, but also transformed their home in the process. It just goes to show, sometimes when you stand your ground and rally your community, amazing things can happen. Now, shifting gears from neighborhood drama to a different kind of chaos, let's talk airports. Have you ever encountered a situation that makes you question humanity? Picture this. You're at a bustling airport when suddenly, someone decides to let their dog do its business right there on the floor. It's shocking and almost surreal, and our narrator found themselves right in the thick of it. What unfolds next is a tale of passive-aggressive payback that's as entertaining as it is satisfying. So buckle up, because this story is sure to take some unexpected turns. Here's a revised version of the censored paragraph that aims to preserve the original tone and impact while still censoring the profanity. A woman let her dog take a dump on the airport floor, so I took a dump on her plans. While walking to my gate at LAX, I noticed a woman whose dog was in the middle of doing its business. The woman was loudly FaceTiming with her back to the dog, so I assumed she didn't notice. That was likely the thought shared by the gentleman who tried to get her attention. "Excuse me, miss," he said in a polite tone. The woman glared at him. "Your dog," he sheepishly continued, pointing to the mid-poop pup. The woman rolled her eyes and went back to FaceTime as the man slinked away, seemingly embarrassed. "Some people," she bellowed to her FaceTime companion with no hint of irony, "are just so darn rude." When her dog finished, the woman started walking away, leaving everything right on the airport floor. Another woman tried to stop her. "You're not going to clean that up?" she asked, as shocked as the rest of us were. "They have people for that," the offender replied, disappearing into the crowd, as much as someone yelling into their phone can disappear into a crowd. I stood near the pile and warned people to walk around it while someone else got a maintenance worker's attention. No one said anything. We were so shocked that anyone could be that horrible. When I got to my gate, the woman was there too. Great, we were both going to Tokyo. When I travel abroad, I get embarrassed by other Americans doing things 100 times less embarrassing than leaving animal feces on the floor of an airport. To make it worse, her dog was now barking at everyone who walked by. I have nothing against people flying with their dogs. I do it often, but it is a privilege I take seriously. My dog is well trained and behaves better than most people. He certainly behaves better than that individual. Speaking of individuals with poor manners, there is a pet relief area inside Los Angeles International Airport, past security, just 2 gates away from where the party pooper let her dog go to town. It didn't matter. She was the type of person to litter 3 feet from an empty garbage can. While her dog barked at the world, the woman had moved from FaceTiming with no headphones to listening to music with no headphones. I don't like to throw around the word sociopath, but I don't know how else I could explain just how selfish and terrible of a person she was. I'd bet her car was somewhere in long-term parking, parked across 3 spots with paint on the bumper from the child's bike she hit without leaving a note. Everyone else tried to ignore her, sitting as far away from her as they could. I am not everyone else. I sat down right next to the horrible woman. "Are you going to London on business?" I said. "I'm going to Tokyo," she responded gruffly, annoyed that I interrupted her disc jockeying. "Oh," I said, "then you better hurry. That flight got moved to gate 53C. This is the flight to London." I figured I could give her a little moment of panic as payback for how terribly she was treating everyone. I didn't predict what would happen next. She grabbed her bags and her dog in a huff and stormed out of the gate without even checking. She was so self-involved, she didn't notice that the monitor at our gate still said Tokyo, and almost everyone at the gate was Japanese. Based on her actions, she believed me that the flight had been moved, so she's also an unkind person for not thanking me. Some people, I thought, as I watched her rush away from the gate without stopping, are just so damned rude. The flight to Tokyo was at gate 69A, so the 53 gates were on the other side of the next terminal, and I felt guilty knowing she probably berated some poor clerk who had to explain to her that there was no gate 53C. I don't know if she made it back to this flight before we took off or not, but I didn't see her board, and I don't hear her dog. Her missing her flight was not my original intention. but it would be a fine punishment for her being so rude to everyone and making a low-paid stranger clean feces off the floor. What makes me wonder if I went too far is the knowledge that Delta only has one flight to Tokyo each day. Whoops, maybe she can rebook on another airline. I hear they have people for that. For those of you who want to play internet detective and demanded to see my ticket, as if that even proves anything, I'm a stand-up comedian with a show in Los Angeles last night and a show in Tokyo tonight. But if that's not enough for you, here's my ticket. And yes, Delta does allow dogs on flights to Japan. Here's a revised version of the censored paragraph that aims to maintain the original meaning and tone while still censoring the profanity. Thanks to all the nice folks, especially the people who are coming to shows, etc. I'm trying to get to all your comments, but it may take me a few days. For those who are being jerks, I hope you wheel your suitcase into her dog mess. Before I dive into today's posts, please consider subscribing for more wild stories. Wow, what a roller coaster ride. From the HOA tale of resilience and ultimately triumph over ridiculous rules to the airport showdown with a dog owner who thought the rules didn't apply to her, both stories highlight some serious entitlement and comeuppance. I'm glad to see the parents not only got the roof they wanted, but even took a seat at the HOA table. And that airport saga? Gotta love a little justice served cold. What do you think about the HOA's policy change, and was the airport prank justified? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Voiced. If you enjoyed daily high-quality stories, please like and subscribe to show your support.